doesn't matter.
So,
Hello there.
hello, Liam.
How's it going?
It's going good. And guess what?
We've got a guest.
We have a guest. So, welcome to the.
Cannabis Podcast.
I'm Sean,
I'm Liam.
and we have
David.
David Owens. Welcome, David. So, David is a close family friend. So, let's get started.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, we did a little bit of research before the show, and we're really happy to have you here, David.
Well,
So,
thank you very
yeah.
much. Very happy to be here.
David is an old family friend.
We did a little bit of background checks and research on you.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
And you threw away the results.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, sure, you can come anyways.
We told him to come anyways. You know, we needed time. We need to fill the show with something.
The police are outside waiting for me to leave.
Exactly.
So good.
So what we discussed briefly before the show, and it's pretty topical, is the first topic that we wanted to talk about with David was just making a career out of what you love versus what you're good at.
I mean, that's very good, honestly. Like, being able to go into something and know once I'm finished with my training,
Yeah. I
I have a job. I know that I'm going to have a job, and it's very good employment. You know, it's
100%.
it's well paid right now. Like I would wager to say that right now, if you were looking to get a job, or if I knew somebody that was coming out of high school and was looking to get a job, I would probably suggest a vocation over going to CJEP or university if they didn't have a particular avenue that they wanted to go down. If they were just asking, generally speaking,
True.
you know, would you prefer to be an electrician, or should I go into, say, CJEP without a real destination in mind?
Yeah.
I would suggest a vocation rather than a university.
For sure. That being said, I don't regret going to CJEP because the amount of stuff that I learned either way, like I still have that knowledge. I still know stuff that I learned. I don't know if it's the same for you.
It is to a degree. You know, a lot of the stuff that we would pick up, I mean, it falls kind of similar to the stuff that we were learning in high school.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of it is just sort of general knowledge that you're going to sort of forget down the line.
Yeah.
You don't really need. But there definitely are aspects that, you know, you pick up, maybe don't think too much of them at the time, but then 10 years down the line, you're like, oh yeah, I remember I kind of learned this through CJEP, or I
Yeah.
learned this through high school. And, you know, didn't expect it to be useful because it hadn't been for years, but
For sure.
glad I know it now.
Yeah, that's it.
So David, you know, sort of dovetailing with finding a job, and you've done a good job of this, and you're making a career out of this, which is awesome, is you know, weighing the options between working hard in the prime of your life, you know, or enjoying those years, you know. And when we talk about the prime years of life, I think we're talking more about you know, your 20s and 30s, you know, as opposed to your 40s and 50s. And can you just move that? And what do you think about that, David? Like, tell me, what's your philosophy of that?
It's definitely difficult because on the one hand, if you're able to put in a degree of hard work throughout your 20s and 30s,
Yeah.
you may then be able to just relax, maybe even retire, enjoy your 40s, 50s, and 60s under very fortunate circumstances.
Right.
But I think for a majority of situations, you may not be able to do that. You may not get that stroke of good luck, even if you put in all of the hard work that you should have throughout your 20s and 30s.
Right.
So it's, you know, everybody's going to have their own philosophy on this.
Right.
But I would argue that trying to find a balance between enjoying your life in your 20s and 30s
Yeah.
and, you know, working towards a strong career, I think you need to strike that balance. Otherwise, you're going to look back and think, man, I could have been doing this or that in my 20s and 30s, but instead I opted to just, you know, put my nose down and work throughout that time.
So in other words, you know, you don't want to have regrets, right? You don't want to end up in a situation where you know, you get to a certain age and God forbid you have a health issue or something happens, you know, and then your whole life falls apart or whatever.
Oh, you're in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
And you haven't done anything.
And you literally haven't done anything. You haven't enjoyed your life.
That'd be rough.
How do you feel about that?
No, I agree completely. I think I believe that, like, for me, it's all about the life philosophy of like why we're here. Like, we're not here just to work and that's it. Like, I feel like we're here to experience the world, have a good time while you're here, enjoy yourself, meet people. So I believe that you should have like a 50-50 equal amount of work and time for yourself, time to hang out with people, do things, have fun. I think if you're just working all the time, there's not really a point.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. You know, and even if it's not, you know, what we're supposed to, or what we're destined to do, just being able to experience different things just for yourself is enjoyable.
Yeah.
At least for most, doing something different is fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, forcing yourself down the road of, you know, I can only work to advance my career throughout the prime years of my life. I feel like that's just not, you're being unfair to yourself, not allowing yourself to experience new things.
And you're never gonna get those years back. Like, these are the years where you can move around the most. Like,
well, it's your healthy years, right? It's like the years where you're at peak, like, optimal health, you know?
Yeah. Like, you could still do stuff when you're in your 50s, 60s, like, even above retirement age, you can still do stuff. But I feel like if you're in your 70s, 80s, you're not going to be playing paintball with the boys. but like, yeah, it's a lot more fun to do stuff while you can do it, like, well.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I would say conversely to that, though, we also need to acknowledge that just fully foregoing building a career
and also building some financial wealth and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Too, right? Like, you know, I mean, those are your prime years for also compound interest and everything else, right? So, you know, you do need to be responsible, I guess.
Having some income.
Yeah, some income, savings, like put money away for retirement, you know? I mean,
yeah, don't go gambling every single day and just
fun as it might be.
Yeah, 100% fun all the time, spend all your money.
I know a lot of I have a lot of colleagues that I know that have not thought about their financial future, and now at my age, I'm 57, they're faced with really tough choices, you know, because if you don't have any money put away and you don't have a house paid off or whatever,
can't retire.
You literally can't retire now. You know, like, you're in a position where you're going to be one of those people at Walmart that are 70 years old stocking shelves. You know?
It's, you know, it's just something that you need to be able to strike a balance.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to strike a balance from your 20s.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You can't.
But that said, I can definitely say I'm the poster child for trying different things. So, you know, I mean, I started my career in marketing. I went back to school, to university, to do a PhD in science, then went into managing scientists, then went into teaching scientists, and now a complete and utter career shift into plumbing, you know? So, like, you know, it's okay to explore options, and it's good to pursue your interests and try to find your bliss in life, but try to do it in a way where it's going to make you happy and at the same time permit you to make some good financial choices, right?
Absolutely. Especially if you're able to find an employment situation that actually assists, or in some cases even just helps fund or just funds your retirement. You know, places that have RSP contributions, RSP matching, pension, things like that. If you're able to find something like that, you're even more well off to establish that sort of balance between enjoying life and building for retirement.
Yeah. And you have that, I'm sure, where you are.
Exactly.
And Liam, fortunately, has that where he has.
The trades have very good pension plans and stuff.
So it's very lucky, you know what I mean? Because a lot of, unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of companies that simply don't have that, and it's very unfortunate because those companies used to have pension plans, and you know, a lot of big companies out there used to have full pension plans, like defined benefit pension plans, as opposed to defined contribution where you're matching an RSP contribution and so on. But all that went away, with it's very expensive. So now everyone's on their own to do it. And it's tough. It's hard for people to save money, you know?
Absolutely.
You typically spend what you make. You know what I mean? That's typically how people operate, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to put money away. So, but what about travel? Like, is that something on your radar, or are you not a big traveling person?
It definitely is something that would be interesting. It's just travel for the sake of travel, not as interesting for me. I would want to travel somewhere that I could experience something that I want to do.
Okay.
So, for example, if you wanted to go to, say, Mexico to go to a resort, for some, that's just spending time in the sun is enough.
Right.
But other people would want to go. They would want to see different sites. They might want to go experience different things. That's more where I would like to go. That's more what I would like to do if and when I travel.
Like excursions, ziplining through the jungle or something.
Yeah, those sorts of things. Being able to do
explore.
Something more than just say, I went here.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you do?
I was on the beach.
Whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with you. I mean, that's the way I travel. That's the way we travel, actually. Like we've always traveled with my kids. We've always gone on traveling vacations,
Right.
So you're exploring the various, offerings that country has to see, as opposed to just going to a beach. I could not do a beach. I mean, I did.
Resort.
We did when you were small. When you were small.
As a kid, I loved it.
Yeah,
Run around, do whatever.
Yeah, we went to, but that's a different kind of vacation, and that's a great vacation when you have kids, because at least as a parent, you can just relax for a week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
absolutely.
it's hard. It's hard raising kids, and it's you're always on, you're always doing stuff, you're always scheduled. You have a million things to do with kids. You have to feed them. You have to bring them places. You have to sports and school and
you
everything.
could skip a few days of feeding.
Right. Yeah.
They don't need it today.
So
you could live a week on no food.
I don't want to say that it's stressful, but it does add a level of just constant tension in your life when you're thinking about what needs to be done and how things need to happen, and to make sure that everyone's okay, right?
It eases your mind when we're just at an all-inclusive.
Well, when you go to an all-inclusive that's for kids, right, which is what we did.
There's food, there's everything they need.
The kids just go.
They know where to go.
They know where to go,
Yeah.
and then life is beautiful. You just relax. You're just like, oh my god, I have a week where I can each day. I don't need to even think about it. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
What do you think of cruises?
Cruises, man, not really for me. I'm not a huge fan of just like being out in the ocean.
Whatever
the case may
not
be.
for me either.
I'm like, listen, this is a little uncomfortable here. I've seen the Titanic.
I
don't. I'm not on board here.
I think you're in the same boat as Liam, right?
I would want to try it once at least.
Really?
Try it once, see how it is, and if not, no. But there's one cruise that I would want to try at some point, because it has a certain excursion that you could only do on that, which is in the Antarctic. They let you go out on the ice and see the penguins and stuff.
That's pretty cool. Not really the sunbathing kind of cruise.
No.
That's interesting. That's also like, you're going on a vacation and actually doing something.
Yeah.
You're not just like on a cruise ship passing the time.
Yeah, you're there for a goal. It's
Exactly.
not just like an all-inclusive experience at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's always what I've done. So it's very similar mentality that you guys have, right? So, going to Hawaii isn't going to a beach for us. It's going to explore the islands of Hawaii and do the different snorkeling activities and see the reefs and go kayaking in the ocean and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool, David, that you have this idea of trying to balance your life. How do you do it like now? So what are you doing, like, are you pretty strict about your work hours and then your hours where you're playing? Or are you pretty how do you manage, like, how do you balance?
Yes,
because now you're a supervisor, so you probably get dragged into after hours things sometimes and whatever.
Yes and no. So I mean, my hours are still like they rotate, but I'm still working X number of hours. I don't come
Okay.
in with, these tasks need to be completed and then I can leave.
Okay.
And so because of that, for the most part, once my shift is done,
You're done.
log out. I have an office, so I just shut the door. I am not going back in there until
Right.
my next shift starts.
Okay.
But there are definitely situations where, for example, I've got a few of the sales team members that have my phone number, and I'm like, if you are really in a bind, yeah, you can give me a call,
Right.
and I'll try to help you out from there. I
Right.
won't have the same resources that I do as on my regular shift, but maybe a second set of eyes will fix this.
Right.
Mm.
So for the most part, once the shift is done, that's it. I'll be back tomorrow. The problems will still be there, but we'll deal with them another day.
Okay.
But yeah, just in certain situations,
So then, I mean, so there is a level of flexibility for you to put in the extra time if it's really absolutely necessary to help somebody, but more often than not, you're cutting out at a certain time and that's it. And I'm guessing that's the philosophy within the company as well, right? Like they want you to have your downtime as well.
I think between what people will say and what they do is a tad different. For the most part, yeah, they will tell you, when your shift is done, you don't have to stick around.
Okay.
And that, I think, is the way that everybody should approach a job.
Right.
But I think the higher up you go,
The more
from a
expected.
rep to a supervisor to management, you have to have more of that flexibility.
Yeah.
Just because you are now in a position of authority and you represent a higher number of people.
Yeah.
So you have to be more flexible.
And there's more emergency, the more people you manage, the more emergencies there will be.
Exactly. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with being able to move up in a company is if you are the type that strictly just calls it at the end of their shift, management likely won't look at you the same way that they do somebody that stays the extra hour that's needed for
Right.
whatever situation.
Right.
And being able to kind of have that work-life balance, know when you can stay a bit longer,
Yeah.
maybe impress some managers and things like that to gain favor with them to potentially get a promotion, versus being able to just call it a day, go relax, eat dinner, and enjoy the rest of your day. You have to find that balance.
Yeah.
And
Because I think there's probably some employees, especially younger ones, that might be surprised by their lack of upward mobility over time based on the way they behave at work, right? Based on their work ethic, if you will.
oh, absolutely. Again, some people are content to sort of gain a position at that you might call entry level, but some people don't need to have
And they just want a career doing that.
exactly. Like, you don't have to go so high up the
Right.
corporate ladder.
Right.
You can be happy with an entry level position.
Yep.
You enjoy the salary that you have, you work with that,
Yep.
and you're able to enjoy your life more than maybe those that are trying to climb that ladder
Right.
and therefore have to put more of their off work hours, quote unquote,
Right.
into it.
Right. Right. So for your off work hours, do you hang out with friends? I mean, what is that mostly what's going on? Because we're going to get into another topic soon, but you live in the same city where you grew up, essentially.
Yeah.
So do you hang out with friends from school, or like, what do you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of us, after graduating high school, I mean, for, those, for everybody else, we are a group of English people in a predominantly French area, even as far as the greater Montreal area goes.
Right.
And so all of us, for the most part, stuck around and stayed in touch, even now, 10 years past our graduation.
Well, that's awesome.
It's great. Like, you've known all these people since you were a kid.
Yeah.
And being able to then just say, all right, it's Friday, who's available? And let's see, of all the people that I knew from high school, are they free to hang out tonight? And for the most part, yeah, we'll go ahead and just spend an evening together hanging out and just chatting about the week.
Oh, really?
Just over at somebody's house. You know.
Wow. Do you play games too and stuff?
Oh,
or?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, our buddy Sean, he's very much into board games, things like that. So he's got a huge
Collection
of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he'll just bring out a board game. We'll play that.
That's awesome.
It's great to be able to have that after spending an entire week at work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you don't have that sort of a social life or some sort of outlet to, enjoy your weekend or enjoy your time after work, then I feel that you just kind of stew in the residual headaches that came from your workday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being able to hang out with friends, go out, do whatever, see a movie.
Yeah.
Having that really helps kind of minimize the stress that comes from working an entire week.
I get it. I mean, I can definitely say from my own perspective, I've always worked customer facing, and I've always been working hand in hand with salespeople. And I can definitely say that the mentality in sales is much different. They work a lot. They just, because they're chasing after commissions and bonuses and all this stuff. Like, it's all about just making more money, right? It's about meeting your objectives, and that's basically what they're chasing after all the time. And I would say that work for them is the predominant overriding activity.
Absolutely. And if they're able to do that, it's an incredibly lucrative job. If you're being paid on commission, you can put in that amount of work and be very well compensated for it.
But it's a rat race, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen employees spend literally a decade or two of their careers doing this, and they never saw their kids grow up. And they never really went on any vacations, and if they did, they were always had their computers and phones with them. So they were still working. For them, it was a working vacation with their family and this kind of stuff,
That's it, and that kind of falls in line with just being able to, work through being able to enjoy your prime years instead of strictly working through them. Because some might argue that is kind of finding a balance between them. But if you're always taking work home, whether intentionally or not, are you really enjoying your prime years, or are you still just working through them?
Exactly. That's exactly what I say.
That's what's rough with getting promotions and stuff, because it's like a trade-off, right? More time, you have to spend more time, but you make more money.
Yep.
So it's kind of rough.
That's 100% right.
For me personally,
what's a promotion for you, Liam? What would be a promotion?
Well, in my you automatically promote yourself basically every year.
But what would be a big promotion? Once you've gone through apprenticeship and you're a full plumber, what would be the next level of for you?
In my industry, which is construction, you would become a foreman. But
do you want to be a foreman?
I don't think I would want to.
Really?
Because foremans after work, they're getting calls still because they're working on an active building work site, and stuff goes wrong sometimes. Sometimes a pipe will burst. Sometimes someone will open a valve that they shouldn't have, and a leak happens. You'll get a call at 3 a.m. and you have to come in.
Okay.
You have to come in to fix it.
You're round the clock, basically.
You're round the clock. Yeah. You're almost like a doctor.
That's it.
Oh yeah, and it messes their schedule up. I've seen some foremans who wake up automatically at 2 a.m. and then they can't go back to bed, so they just go to work.
That's such a tough thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in your situation, then once you reach X number of hours, even if you opt not to go and become a foreman, are you compensated based on your hours worked, or is there a sort of a cap that an apprentice level can earn in that sense?
Well, it's a set number. So your set number throughout your apprenticeship, and then you become a journeyman, which is another set number. From there, it's up to the company if they want to pay you more for your services.
But what's cool for the kind of work that Liam's doing in construction is that they do get overtime. So if each day there is a strict number of hours that they work. It's very strict.
Okay.
They work from
As soon as the shift is done, you're expected to be at the shack
It's like,
getting ready to
it's
leave.
like the pipe is still leaking, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, 8 hours, guys.
That's it.
Well,
No.
they really want you out of there, right?
Yeah.
Like they want you off the site. Like they want you gone. You have to be on the site by 5:30 in the morning. Like they start at 5:30 in the morning. And
For us, it's a little more lax now because we're just 2 plumbers. We used to be 30 on this site.
Really?
Now
30?
I'm the only apprentice. We have 1 plumber and 2 foremans.
right,
So
but you're there at 5:30 and you're gone by what time?
usually we leave at 1:10.
1:10.
What are you working like on? Is it an office?
It's
or
a
is
condo
it,
complex.
Okay, it's a complex. Okay, that makes
Yeah, yeah.
that makes a bit more sense. I was thinking,
Yeah,
like, what are you getting
100%.
30 plumbers on?
Yeah. A lot of plumbers.
But they work those hours, and then occasionally they're behind.
So we
And
need-
then the foreman will ask selective people if they want to do what's called overtime, and overtime is quite lucrative actually for them.
Is that time and a half, or is that
it's
double time?
time and a half for the first hour, and then double time all the rest after.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're able, if you're content with working an extra few hours, yeah, absolutely, that's very lucrative.
Yeah,
I've had like a couple times where I worked like a month straight of 6 days a week. That was rough. The Sunday after that, you just have time to like get your groceries done, and you're still tired from the week.
Yeah.
but
it
that's
is
the
lucrative.
problem. That's again your work-life balance, David. Right? I mean, and there are guys you mentioned, Liam, that would always volunteer for
Oh, yeah.
overtime, right?
Yeah.
So these guys, it's just like being an upper level executive. They just work all the time, and then they go through their career and they don't see their families, right? They don't see.
There's polar opposites on construction sites. There's like the guys who went into the trades because they think it's just a nothing job, so they don't really do much, and those guys don't usually make it that long.
That's sort of the thing. Like,
I've seen a lot of people get kicked off the site. Like tons of people just join up. They don't really pay attention. They don't listen, and they don't do the work at all. Basically, they get kicked off. Or there's the crazy like workaholic guys who all they do is work. They want overtime whenever they can get it. They'll work 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts every day if they can.
And it seems like the foreman as well, Liam. I mean, from what you've said, once you become a foreman, it feels like they don't have much of a life.
You don't have to, but if there's emergencies, you kind of do.
So you don't get to see your family much, and you're not home much.
No.
Your hours are screwed.
and even when you are home, I mean, if
You're
you're
tired.
Imagine you're just waiting for that call, like your phone to ring for something. Like that'd be horrible.
Yeah,
exactly, like, are you able to enjoy your day if
Yeah.
you're just constantly waiting on your phone to ring?
Yeah,
Oh my
you're
God,
on
that'd be
edge
awful.
and you're also exhausted. At the
Yeah.
end of the workday on a site, you're tired.
Yeah.
For sure.
I am curious to know, like in specifically in plumbing, but I guess in the trades in general,
Yeah.
if you were to put sort of a weight on work ethic versus sort of technical knowledge of the trade,
Mhm.
which one would you say is more important? Like if you were to say, would you say it's like 50% knowledge of the trade and 50% work ethic, or does it seem to lean more towards work ethic and being available for the job that you would say is more important?
It depends on what your goal is, but if you are 100% work ethic and not much knowledge, the company's going to keep you.
Really?
The foremans love you if you have a high work ethic, regardless of what you know, because they'll just show you the job. If they want something
You'll
done,
learn on the job.
Yeah. Okay.
if they want something done, they'll just draw it for you. If you don't understand, ask questions. They're happy to show you. And if you have a good work ethic, you're fine. If you know nothing, you're going to be fine.
I mean,
Really?
now that said, David, there are people who know nothing
And
have been shown and just can't seem to do it, right, Liam?
Yeah.
And then those people lose their jobs.
yeah, but
Yeah.
those people tend to not have that high of a work ethic either.
Oh, that's it. I think
They're not actively listening.
So they're not
paying
trying.
attention.
They're not trying to learn.
No.
exactly like the whole point behind the foreman's teaching you would be that you're actually engaging and you're actually trying to figure this out. But if
Yeah.
you don't care about what the foreman's telling you, then
Yeah, you're
It's-
not engaged at all. You're
Now,
not
what would you
listening.
say about in your field? Like, is it knowledge, work ethic, combination of both. Like what's the ideal employee? What's gonna garner success?
In my current role as a supervisor, I would say that it's probably 40% the knowledge of the job and the knowledge of the industry and 60% work ethic.
Right.
But if you go down a level lower to just the call center, the knowledge, I mean, it's useful, but being able to sort of solve problems and being willing to, even if you don't know what the answer might be at the time, being willing to investigate further, being able to ask questions, look around, that's the majority of the work. So I would say 25% weight I would put on just the knowledge of the field, and then 75% of the work ethic. So as you move up, you need to have more
knowledge,
understanding. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. But when you're starting out,
they just want a go-getter. They want someone who's willing to learn.
Exactly. Like in my situation, I again had a political science degree, got a job in financial services, and I told my team, I'm like,
I know nothing.
I'm like, this is all new to me.
Yeah, I know. I have negative knowledge.
Exactly, and but if you go and you take a positive work ethic, or a good work ethic, and a willingness to learn different things, it's I think that's the majority, or that's the primary driving force behind moving up in that company.
Right. And you have to have the humility to ask questions. That's one major thing that's bad in construction. A lot of people butt heads. A lot of people don't want to ask questions. They want to be the one who knows everything.
And they assume, and the problem is they make the assumption that they do know everything when they don't.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a major problem. People don't ask questions.
I remember when I was starting out, I felt so bad for the people who are now my colleagues, like the people that are in the same department as me. I would call and ask for clarifications. I'd send emails, and I'm like, listen, I know you guys are starting to have a problem with me for the amount that I'm contacting you, but I mean, hear me out.
Yeah.
Please help me.
That's it.
Please help me. I don't know what I'm doing.
And at the end
throw me a lifeline. Throw me a lifeline.
Yeah. And then we get to this point now, 3 years down the line, and a lot of them will actually end up coming to me for clarifications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you have to have that humility to be able to ask questions and acknowledge that I don't know what this is.
Right.
I probably could have learned this somewhere along the line, but I don't have it now. So can I sort of get that information? And that's how you grow.
Yeah. And pay attention to the information they give you. Exactly. A lot of people, it just comes in and out.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I've noticed this a lot more now than in the past. Like in the latter part of my career with Biorad was actually going into labs and teaching scientists. Near the end of that part, I would literally, when I was in labs, I would tell people to bring notepads and pens because people wouldn't voluntarily bring them. I just couldn't believe it, right? Like, I'm going to be giving you a bunch of information on how to do this technique. You need to write it down. You're never going to remember, Yeah. So I found that to be, I don't want to say sad, but maybe a sign of the times. I think there's a lot less. I think people more and more expect to be spoon-fed.
You think it would be distracting if they all brought typewriters while you're explaining?
Well, yeah, imagine. Well, no, but some people did bring iPads and they'd use text recognition and stuff, which is awesome. I thought that was great, or notepads, whatever it was fine. I mean, as long as I saw people taking the odd note here and there, I knew at least that they were listening and trying to absorb the information. But I think if you're in the process of being taught something that you don't know, you should be in a position where you're ready to take some notes or ask for the PowerPoint presentation or whatever it is, right? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people don't do this now. I don't know if you see this like in your
Not quite so much in my field, because much of what we were doing was remote, just because there are people from across Canada.
Right.
But I did notice it quite a bit more in university, where a lot less people, especially once you got to like the seminars and like the higher level courses, lot less people were open to taking notes, presumably because they wanted to convey this idea that they already had like the perfect grasp of whatever it is they were studying, when in fact they had their perspective of what the grasp was. But then you have an entirely different one from your professor, and a lot of those people, I think, just didn't acknowledge what they were being taught, and just sort of dismissed it.
So I and I wonder if those are the same people that are going to have trouble in the workforce.
Oh, I would be shocked if it was seamless for them to go into the workforce.
Yeah. And I think that, like, regardless of what field you're in, like, your superiors love when you ask questions, but if you keep asking the same question over and over again, it means you're not paying attention. So I would highly recommend just ask questions. That if you don't know something, ask, but pay attention to what they tell you. Don't just like pretend that you're paying attention or zone out. Listen to what they tell you, and you're going to do great.
Yeah. I mean, you're asking a question for a reason. So you should probably figure out why you asked the question, and then, maybe take note of the answer.
For sure.
Exactly. Right.
I've seen it too many times where someone just asks, forget instantly, ask again. And then I see plumbers getting pissed. Like, they're like, dude, I just told you this 5 minutes ago. Like, what are you doing?
Because it is a very technical field, plumbing, Liam. Like, there's a lot there is a lot to know in this field. There's a lot to learn. You're doing all kinds of different tasks.
You're always learning. There's always new pipes that they're coming out
with, new fittings, fixtures, right? Like,
for sure.
So David, just to switch gears a little bit in this exploration of life. You are at a major transitionary phase in your life right now, where you have been on the housing market, and so what's that like these days in this? So we're in Quebec, we're in north of Montreal, right? So and how's the housing market like? How is it for young people to be able to get into the housing market? Is it pretty tough?
It's as far as Canada goes, I certainly don't envy those who live in Toronto and Vancouver.
Right.
I mean, amongst like the urban centers, I would say Montreal is probably the easiest of Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, and Vancouver. But even then, as I'm at age 27. I've had good gainful employment now for 3 years after getting a university degree without any serious debt. I mean, if you're going to university outside of Quebec, school debt is very.
It can easily balloon to $50,000-$60,000.
Exactly.
And even that isn't as bad as some of the places like in the US. It's crazy.
In the US you can graduate like in Canadian dollars, a couple $100,000, even $250,000 in debt.
And then you're just working to pay it off.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the real fortunate part about growing up in Quebec and going to school here is it is leaps and bounds more affordable here.
Yeah. And we're lucky, because if you live with your family in the greater Montreal area, you can easily go to we have 2 great English universities in Montreal.
Yep.
And several really good French universities and these are world renowned. McGill University, Concordia, we have University of Montreal, École Polytechnique. Like there's a variety of good schools that are right in the city that you can access. Like I would never have agreed for my kids to have gone to university outside of Quebec. Like, you know what I mean? So.
And for a lot of people, that's also just not financially not an option for a lot of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even I would imagine that even vocational schools and anything past high school in a lot of Canada, for some people, it's just not financially viable for them.
Here it's free.
It's free here. Oh yes, actually yes, I remember this now. That because I mean, there's such a need for people in all sorts of
all the trades.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in plumbing school. It's literally cost like
just the tools.
The tools.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. It's great.
Yeah. People
and university is heavily subsidized in Quebec. So that's awesome. CEGEP virtually cost nothing either.
Yeah, I think CEGEP was
$180 a semester or something like that. It's crazy.
Like that. And then university is probably, once you factor in the books and all that stuff, maybe $5,000 to $6,000 a year. Like it's nothing.
People complain about the taxes, but it does go to some useful stuff, like schooling. There are things I'm not like super happy with where the taxes are going. But when you see what it does to the school, like people are not working their lives to pay off school debt and stuff. It's
Exactly.
awesome.
And I think what parents are doing now, I mean, the housing market is still pretty tough to get into in Montreal.
Absolutely.
And I think what parents are doing, parents realize this. And what they're doing now is just accepting that their kids can live with them longer so that when they're ultimately working, they can save money for the down payment to buy a house.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what you did, I think,
Yeah,
right?
I was very fortunate in that sense, and also just being able to find, employment that was able to really compensate me for what I was doing.
Right.
So if you're able to find that, then that's great. But for a lot of people, if you don't jump out of university or out of high school and find a well-paying job, you could be into your late 20s, even early 30s, and not be able to really afford anywhere that's that doesn't require a lot of work to go into it.
Yeah.
So what were you looking at? Just to give us some examples, David, of things like, you've obviously been looking and going and seeing houses and stuff with an agent or something. Like what can you get? What sort of housing is affordable in the north of Montreal? You're going to be living in de Montagne. I'm guessing you were looking in the de Montagne Saint Marthe region.
Yeah.
So what sort of houses are there any nice houses in the $350,000 to $450,000 range?
Well, that's it. A lot of the places in Der Montagne and in Saint Eustache, they are older buildings that oftentimes have had substantial issues in the past.
Right.
And so while I was looking, I was finding properties that, if it were a condo, it was not even in the ballpark of being adequately funded in case of, say a roof were to leak or a foundation cracks. Right. And then suddenly all the tenants had to pay out of pocket because the condo fees were so low, they can't cover it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you can find places like that and just pray that there is no
major catastrophe.
Exactly.
Right? Like the roof doesn't cave in or something.
That's exactly it. And then in that sense, there was one house that I looked at. It was built in the 20s and it looked like it. And it was still in the $320,000 to $340,000 range, if memory serves.
Right.
But it was everything. The roof was it looked like a half pipe. From a skate park.
My God.
And so the roof is caving in. That's not ideal.
We're gonna call this a fixer-upper.
That's it.
And they were probably still charging a ton for it.
Oh yeah, that was
$320,000.
Exactly. And so the walkway, the wood was rotted out. The windows that they had cut holes for, they never properly sealed.
It's almost a house that needs to be just bulldozed and then rebuilt.
And when I took a look at the declarations, it was $320,000. I think they put $64,000 on the building itself, and then
the rest was the land.
The rest of it was
no way.
And I'm like, you can tell me to just demo it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the water lines would have lead in them at that point.
Well, that was it. Like there were foundational problems, there were pest problems, there was likely water damage. They said that they didn't know of any water damage. I'm like, that's very different. On the topic of plumbing, the bathroom didn't even have it had zero ventilation. So there was, most of the time we'll have like a fan that can that's coming from the ceiling to
redirect
to wick out moisture from the shower. When I took a look on the roof or the ceiling, and I'm like, that's not ideal. Taking a look at the walls, I'm like, is there any ventilation? They said no, that's something that you would likely need to have looked at. And I'm like, that's
all black mold everywhere.
Well, that's it.
Can you imagine? You open the walls, it's just
and a lot of the walls were, they were visibly patched.
You could poke your finger through the wall type thing, touch the wall and your finger just goes through it.
No.
I remember that was the front walk up. The front walk up, she just pressed her finger into it and her finger left a dent in the wood. And I thought to myself, 320 for something like this, maybe this is like an isolated incident. But once you find anything that doesn't require, noticeable
significant work, you're in the 500,000 range.
Exactly. And I would
maybe even more than that.
Oh yeah. Like there's sections in like the next town over in Saint Eustache where they're relatively new builds. I believe they're from 2010 or something like that. So they're You know, they're pretty well up to code, and you know, good overall houses. Maybe not a starter house, and they're going for 700,000, 800,000.
Yeah,
It's just
insane.
I mean, these same homes before COVID were selling for half that price. You know,
exactly.
so,
Even less. Like
yeah,
it tripled after COVID.
well, it approximately doubled. I wouldn't say tripled, but it definitely at least doubled to went up by about 50%, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I mean,
Exactly.
It's just crazy what happened.
You know, if you're a dual income household, then it's like more options will open
it's
up.
accessible, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you could go for a $600,000-$700,000 house.
and a house like that is like a health risk. There could be asbestos. There could be like there's almost guaranteed lead. They used to use lead to solder the pipes together back then. There would be like mold in the walls, everything.
That's it. Like, I mean, that was the big thing that I noticed with the bathroom was that there were patches everywhere, and I thought to myself, okay, I don't know, either somebody's getting really mad coming out of the shower, punching holes in the wall, or maybe they noticed a dark spot on the wall and just thought, oh, if I cut this out, that deals with the problem entirely.
I just cover it up.
Exactly.
Okay, so based on your budget, definitely a house in that region was now out of the question.
Fully out of the question.
So then you started looking at what? What did you start doing?
So from there, I wasn't looking to get an apartment because at the time
You didn't want to rent.
That's it. I mean, on the one hand, you don't have that string attached to this is an asset in my name, and therefore I'm covering the property taxes. I'm the one that's covering any sort of repairs if, you know, a water main breaks or anything like that.
Right.
But investing in a house, that's a tangible asset that once I pay it off, like I have this and I can sell it. Whereas the rent money is going towards nothing.
Well, you're making a landlord rich.
Exactly.
Essentially, it's like you're subsidizing the income of somebody else.
Exactly. And a lot of the times the monthly rent that you're paying is roughly the same amount as you'd be paying on your mortgage.
Oh, it's crazy. And the problem with renting, I've always said that, like, back in my day, renting was a great option. It was a great preliminary step to your independence, and you could easily transition from rent to a mortgage. And rents were way lower than mortgage payments. Like, I was living in downtown Montreal in Westmount. I was paying $400 a month for a 2-bedroom
in the richest part of Montreal as well.
Exactly. You know, so you could easily get a nice rent for a 2-bedroom apartment back then in the 90s, in the late 90s, early 2000s for $400 or $500 a month. You know, and that was fine. 2 people, you know, if you're 2 people, it's $250 each. You know, you can easily still save for a down payment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you have a $2,000 a month rent or $1,500 a month rent, which is what it is now, even in St. Martha, it's very expensive to rent places.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of the times I'll take a look at what's available for rent and think to myself, okay, if I were to compare this to what roughly speaking a mortgage would be with, say, you know, 10% down, let's say, it comes out as being more expensive. I'm thinking
to
myself,
rent.
Exactly.
Like,
they're not even covering, like, you know, what I'm paying is covering, you know, their property taxes as well. It might be covering, you know, if it's a condo, it might be covering their condo fees. And they, at the end of this, will have that asset, and I will
have nothing.
I don't have the financial security.
Well, and more than that, if you're the problem with renting today for a young person starting off in their life is that it immediately prohibits your ability to put money away to save for a down payment, because all your money is going into living at that stage. You know, like that's the problem, right?
100%.
So you don't want that to happen. You don't want to get stuck in that situation where you can't ever own because your rent is just too expensive for you to ever be able to save enough to make for the down payment. And that's why a lot of people rent, because they just can't save the 50 or 100,000 or however much money they need to save to be able to put a down payment on a house.
Exactly. Is that good?
Oh no, it's all good.
Yeah, in my case, I ended up getting a condo that was, you know, right in my area.
Cool.
And in that same complex, though, I noticed when I was heading up the street, the next building over, which I imagine they all are roughly the same. The building, like the face of the buildings, are almost identical. So I assume roughly the same layout, the same size as everything else. They had a spot for rent that was going for, I believe it was $1,800 a month, and I thought to myself,
what's your mortgage going to be?
So that's in my case, my mortgage with. Bear in mind, I had, I think, a little over 10% down. My mortgage on its own was just under $1,500.
See what I mean?
And then you factor in property taxes, and it's still somehow lower than
the rent.
Than the rent. And
yeah.
I see this, and I think that in so many situations, home ownership, or even trying to get to home ownership, is an impossibility for a lot of people until they reach their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Unless they're fortunate enough to find a high-paying job and are able to keep their living expenses as low as possible.
And the problem, and again, it's the whole issue of we spend what we make.
Yep.
We have a hard time saving. So the more you make, the more you want to have a fancier car, the more you want to have that new television set or that new bedroom set, right? Money comes in and then money goes right back out again. And we don't think, we just keep putting off saving, you know, and even when you do save, you know, what a lot of people do is they look at that amount that's building and say, oh, let's go on a vacation now, let's do this, right? You know, as opposed to, no, we really need this money so that we can do the next step. You know, it's hard to be disciplined, you know?
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean,
and good for you, David, for doing that, because, you know, you worked for your 3 years. I'm sure you saved a significant amount of money to be able to put a good down payment on this place, and that's a feat. That's something to be proud of.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I will say the one good aspect that's coming from, you know, the government in terms of trying to help people with home ownership has been the
first home.
So there's the first home savings account that they introduced in 2023, as well as the home buyers plan for your RSP.
Yes,
because all of that, like all the contributions you make, you are deducting it on your taxes, and then in that sense where you mentioned, you know, having this giant nest egg of funds, if they were just sitting around, then, you know,
you'd probably spend it.
Exactly. But if you were to try to do that with your FHSA money, then suddenly
it's taxed.
You're paying taxes on it. You're getting withheld. And so
it's kind of the government's putting like a big carrot on, if you put money into that account, you're not going to touch it type thing.
Exactly.
Which is good, right? I mean, that kind of forces people who would otherwise want to spend that money badly to leave it there.
Having that sort of thing. It's not, if you were going to set it aside for a home purchase anyways, it's something that kind of, it imposes willpower on you to kind of hold on to those savings rather than pulling them out.
Indeed.
On, you know, a vacation trip or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. So now you're officially a homeowner.
Yes. Well, I mean, soon. I still have to meet with the notary and all that, but essentially everything has been agreed upon.
The deal's been agreed. It's closed. They agreed. You agreed. Everything's been signed with the real estate agent. You have to go to the notary to do the final, like, you know, payments.
Exactly. And then they gave me the keys.
Good for you.
Everything, is done. Very pleased with the situation.
Congratulations, David.
Thank you very much. And that's the other thing that kind of falls in line with the issue of homeownership is a lot of people likely look at homeownership and think, okay, the big expense that I have, down payment, and then the furniture.
Yeah.
But there's so many other expenses that go into it. Even as a buyer, you know, if you don't play your cards right and try to represent yourself, realize I can't represent myself. I need a realtor or some sort of.
Did you get a realtor? You had a realtor?
I did, yep. Yeah. But what I learned is if you don't, and then you opt afterwards to go get a realtor, you're on the hook for the fees for the realtor. Whereas normally the seller,
are you serious?
If you start things off representing yourself, and then down the line realize, no, I can't do this, and stick with the same property that you represented yourself,
right,
and then get a realtor,
right,
you're now on the hook for your realtor's fees.
Oh my God, that's very expensive.
Oh yeah, that was so I mean, most people will kind of adjust based on what the seller's representation is,
right?
But you know, you're looking at probably about 2% of the home purchase, which I mean, if you're looking at 350,000, you know,
It's
you're
a
talking
$7,000 bill.
exactly.
Right?
There's
Which is a lot.
exactly.
It's a lot of cash.
There's that. There's also the a lot of the times if you don't have 20% to put down, you have to get mortgage insurance,
Yes.
which will jump your costs even higher, and then the taxes that come with that mortgage insurance, and the notary fees, which in my case, from what I was seeing, like the best that I was able to find was about $2,000 still.
Yes.
So you're talking a ton of other.
And is it up to the
expenses.
buyer to find the notary or the seller?
It's the seller.
Okay.
So the seller will find the notary, and the buyer will just sort of work with it.
Okay.
Do
Do you have to pay the notary fees as the buyer though, or does the seller, or do you split on it? How does that work?
So it sort of depends. You know, for the most part, the buyer is the one covering the fees for the notary.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
it's not ideal. However, there are certain aspects, like if there are, say, multiple mortgages on
Right.
that property that they're selling,
Right.
the difference is generally speaking covered by the cost for that additional expense is generally covered by the seller, because
Okay.
it's not
Okay.
it's not on the buyer to know how many mortgages are taken out on this.
Right.
So, it depends, but the bulk of the costs
Yeah.
usually falls to the buyer.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Well, you know what, David? Do you have any questions on this, Liam? Heading into the housing market at some stage? No.
No.
Yeah.
I had one thing. I have a friend who is just recently found a place as well. He was on the market. He found like this company that was building houses, and the house wasn't going to be built for a while. So he got like a huge discount on it because it's not there yet. So he's just waiting on the house to be built.
Interesting.
But he got a discount for buying a house that's not there yet.
Whereabouts is he buying?
I'm not
You
sure.
know?
I'm
Okay.
not entirely sure, but I
Yeah.
know that is an option if
Yeah.
ever.
I mean, it is. Yeah, I would suspect a new build is going to be very expensive in this region.
Yeah.
But
But if
you-
it's not built yet, if it's like months away
you'll
from
have
being,
you'll get a discount, but I still think it's going to be very expensive
Yeah.
in this region, right? That said, though, if you're doing a new build like in way north or
Mhm.
way east, like in Trois-Rivières, like there are some pockets in Quebec if you can live in these areas, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're mobile, right, and
Yeah.
you don't, and you're okay to be away, like
or you're
live-
remote working.
remote working, and also to live away from your friends,
It's like
which
you
would
know,
suck.
Yeah,
know what I mean?
you have to sacrifice your social.
Yeah,
life
you have
if
to
want
sacrifice.
really.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could afford to have a house, but who wants that, right? I mean, who wants to move away and end up, far
Yeah.
away from their friends or family or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know what, David? This was awesome. We've gone the full spectrum. We missed one topic, but we'll have you back and we'll talk about some other things. It was
For
really
sure.
interesting.
Fantastic. It sounds great. Thank you very much for having me.
It was
100%.
it was awesome. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm Sean.
I'm Liam,
And I'm David.
And we have David as our guest. And we
Yes.
are.
the Cannabis Podcast.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good one.